everybody, welcome back to a brand new Sims 4 video, and as you can probably tell by today's title, we're going to be talking about The Sims 4 and the most hated packs. Do they deserve to be hated? Why are they hated? Let's get into it. So you might be wondering, how did I come up with the packs for this video? I'm not gonna lie, I initially googled what is the least favourite expansion pack, and then was greeted with packs that were not expansion packs. So dread to think the future of what AI is, but there you go. Anyway, disclaimer that we're going to be talking about 3 packs. 2 of them are game packs, 1 of them is stuff packs. I actually do not have 2 of the packs. So I'm kind of forming my opinions based off what I've seen, based off what I've heard, based off other Simmers experiences. And I'm very curious, if you do own the packs, what you guys think as well. Anyway, we'll get into it because I think the opinions are still valid. And to be fair, some of the reasons that some of these packs have for being bad are reasons that have put me off buying it, so I guess it makes sense. Let's get into the first pack. It may come as no surprise for a lot of you when I say the first pack to come up was Journey to Batu. Yeah, I think this does actually have quite a reputation for being the worst pack, and I'm gonna be honest, this pack has never appealed to me, and it's never appealed to me for a couple of reasons, but let's get into some of the general points as to why people don't like the pack. So people often criticize this pack for being underwhelming, and one of those reasons why is mainly the gameplay. If you've never heard of Journey to Batu, if you don't know what the pack is, it's basically a Star Wars pack. Yeah, I know. I don't know the crossover either. All I know is Disney must have paid the EA a lot of money to do a collab. Anyway, yeah, it's a Star Wars world and gameplay, and they added characters because who doesn't want, what are they called? Like the white stormtroopers? Is that the word? I'm thinking of peacemakers, but I know that's Hunger Games. I don't know. I really know Star Wars that well, you can tell. Let's be honest. One of the biggest reasons people don't like this pack is because it does look insanely cash grabby, okay? It is just one big ad for Star Wars, and it kind of makes no sense. And I think that's actually something that a lot of Simmers have actually said, is that, okay, the world is cool and like the characters are cool, but I believe it's kind of like a vacation world. So when you actually return back from Batu, there's like no good crossover, I guess, of it. And that was like a really valid criticism that was coming up quite a bit. But yeah, like I said, a lot of people see it as one big ad, insanely cash grabby from EA. But this is EA, so I don't know why we are surprised. But it's safe to say they've not really done anything, I don't think, as extreme to Journey to Batu since. So maybe they got the hint that Simmers don't like these sorts of big collaborations. Who knows? Anyway, I think a really big problem for this particular pack is that the demographic for those people that like Sims and those people that like Star Wars is already really niche. That's probably not the majority. I mean, maybe it is the majority of Simmers. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind Star Wars. I've watched them, but like, I'm not a big fan by any means, do you know what I mean? They're meh for me, it's fine. So I feel like that demographic is already quite small, so I feel like it probably does only appeal to like a small handful of people, which is fine. It's good for those handful, but I don't think the majority like it, which I think is probably why it's like disliked so much. A lot of people that do like Star Wars, so prime demographic, have complained that the pack gameplay is lacking. The scenery is nice, the create sim mode's pretty good, build mode is good if you like that sort of spacey futuristic theme, and it does go quite well with some other packs, but the actual gameplay is not the best. And I want to remind you all, it's a game pack, so it's not ever going to be as big as an expansion pack, thank goodness, but you would expect for a game pack for it to have good gameplay. You know, that would be my bare expectations. Now, for me personally, like I said, I'm not like a massive Star Wars fan, so for me, this pack was always like give or take. I would probably never buy it, if I'm being honest, except if it was like majorly discounted. But even then, like, I'm talking, it would have to be a couple of quid for me to be like, I'll go buy it. Because it's just really not my sort of pack, and I definitely wouldn't play with it in my sort of gameplay personally. But because they haven't necessarily integrated the two that well into the game, it kind of makes the pack feel like an outlier. Like, despite the fact that we had different occults in the game and all of that, and like they could have made the Star Wars theme look really cool, instead it kind of just feels a bit meh. And like I said, like there's missions, I believe, with Journey to Batuu, so you get certain missions and you have to go speak to certain characters, but you only have a couple of missions, and it often involves going to talk to people and or like going to a rabbit hole sort of location. So it's fairly boring, it's fairly repetitive, which came up quite a bit in my research, which is valid. And I'm thinking that those missions probably won't change either. So if you're going to do it in every single game or every single save that you play, it's going to get a bit boring quite quickly, which I totally understand. I will say, like I said, there are some positives. For the most part, lots of people did like the creator sim, lots of people did like the build mode. Some people did say that the build mode actually does fit really well with other packs. I guess it would depend what packs you have, because for me at the minute, like I don't have any occults in my game other than aliens, so it probably wouldn't fit the best into my specific game at the moment. But I'd imagine if you have like ram magic, vampires, all of that jazz, there would be some crossover. But yeah, I think the main problem really with this pack is the lack of gameplay. The only things when they are marketing it that they did was build mode, creator sim, meeting the characters, which is obviously quite boring, and then lightsabers. So that's it. That's all they promoted. That's pretty much all the pack has, to be fair. And like I said, it's a game pack. You would expect a good amount of gameplay. It's not a stuff pack, you know? And a lot of complaints, I think, can be summarized with the fact that it's a lot of style over substance. The world looks pretty, the build modes look nice, the create sim looks nice, but at the end of the day, they look nice, but there's no actual substance to the pack other than the items look pretty. So I would be really interested to know if you guys like this pack, because I think for me, it's just never appealed to me because I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I'm not a big enough fan for me to be like, I really want that in my game. And like I said, it's not the sort of gameplay I want to play anyway, so I'd rather just save myself like £15 or however much it is and not get it. But if you do have the pack, let me know what you would like. Is there any specific feature that you think makes it really special? And I guess the question is, do you think it deserves to be the worst do you think it deserves to be the worst Sims 4 pack? Because for most critics and most reviewers, it is like number one worst pack. So let me know, because I don't know. I think it's really subjective. I want to say this whole entire video is very subjective. Like, if I say a pack that you guys really like, they get offended. Personal opinions. And equally, these aren't even my own opinions. These are based off what other people have said. So, but yeah, you get the point. I'd be really interested, because there's definitely somebody out there that's like, Journey to Batuu is my favourite pack. That's not me though. Anyway, let's move on to the second one. It may come as no surprise with the second pack. It is another game pack, which has surprised me, by the way, because I actually think game packs in The Sims 4 are sometimes better than expansion packs. Parenthood, for example. Love it. But anyway, not the point. It's another game pack, and it's probably going to come as no surprise, and it's My Wedding Stories. Another pack that I don't own, but a pack that I was very, very, very tempted to purchase. And I'm going to be honest, the one reason I haven't is something that I think is My Wedding Stories' biggest downfall, and that is the amount of bugs and glitches that come with the pack. But I think it was Satch on Sims that basically said that all they've done is make base game weddings, which were already bad in the game, all they've gone and done is make it even worse. And that's a shame, when the whole point of the pack is meant to try and enhance weddings. It's not meant to make them worse. So it's kind of failed at the one objective and the one marketable thing that it's meant to have done, which is not good. And I think, like I said, the biggest flaw with the pack is not necessarily that the pack, like build mode and whatever, is bad. It's just that the pack doesn't actually work. Like, the main objective that it's meant to do, which is have a wedding, doesn't work. It's so infuriating, particularly because, you know, we can see with like life and death that they can do events well, they can do funerals good. So then how did weddings end up so horrifically bad? And my biggest gripe with it is, why haven't they still fixed it? Because they are selling a game which basically doesn't work. And I feel that way about For Rent as well, with that big thing about it potentially corrupting people's save files. Why are you still selling a product that is literally like breaking the game? I don't know. My Wedding Stories is not that bad, but obviously the bugs and glitches are really infuriating and really annoying, and nobody wants to feel like they've spent 15-20 quid. I don't actually remember how much game packs are nowadays. That sort of money for something that doesn't work, particularly when you can buy like little indie games for around that price. You can buy a whole new game for it. So yeah, I can totally understand it. For me personally, like I said, the biggest turn off for me not getting the pack, because I really have been tempted, like so tempted, particularly when there's been a sale on and stuff, is the bugs. I just don't want to deal with my game being even more buggy than what it currently is. And to be honest, like, it's also the idea of having to have a really complicated wedding and like having things not work. It's really annoying. I do wish EA would, like I said, I do wish they would fix it. I think they shouldn't be selling a game or a DLC that doesn't work and is broken. But this is EA we're talking about. Anyway, if we're actually talking about the pack itself, some people have argued that the pack is too simplistic, and I do kind of get it. Like, it is quite niche, but then they did make a whole life and death expansion pack, which is also like kind of, I mean, I suppose it's a bit more broader, but you know what I mean? It's still a life event, just life and death was done so much better, which does make me sometimes think maybe they should have focused more on, I don't think it deserves to be an entire pack. My thing is, I feel like this would have been a really lovely addition to Love Struck. I think they would have gone really well together, which is another problem we are going to explore with the next pack as well. And I do kind of feel like it's just EA being a little bit cash grabby again and pumping out this pack, which is broken, and that should have really been implemented in Love Struck but wasn't. Particularly because I think the worlds, like the Love Struck world and the My Wedding Stories world, looks really similar vibes, and I do just think they should have just been one pack. But like I said, this is EA. Now, like I said, some people have complained about content and also complained about the gameplay, just saying there's just not enough gameplay, like it's just too simplistic, which I think is fine, but I genuinely think one of the biggest downfalls to sometimes some of these game packs is the worlds. And I do think with My Wedding Stories, the world is not necessarily needed. I think if they'd spent more time actually just making the actual game pack itself functional and workable, I probably wouldn't have cared about the world. If they'd pumped more into the actual gameplay and the wedding side of things and all the rest of it, then I think it would have been fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the concept, I just think they could have executed it a little bit better, which, to be honest, you could say that about a lot of packs in the game, I think. From what I could see, most people really like the game in terms of most people really like the content. They don't think it's too bad. Most people like the concept of the gameplay, but the actuality of it is different, and that means that people would necessarily not recommend it unless it's on sale, which is sad because of the bugs. Yeah, it's never nice when somebody says, I like the pack, but I'd only recommend it, it's on sale. That's not really what EA should be pumping out, should it? And yeah, again, I want to end on the note that it is a game pack. Therefore, the basic expectation is for gameplay to be working, functional, and you would expect for there to be quite a lot of gameplay, given it's a game pack, because it is meant to just be like a smaller expansion pack. So I would rather have more gameplay than a world, in my personal opinion. But anyway, there we go. Now let's talk about the third pack. What bloody hell was I doing then? Third pack, and that is My First Pet stuff. I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to absolutely anybody. This is also the one pack that I do own. Yay. I also didn't realise that apparently sometime, I think last year, they made My First Pet stuff actually 3, which is a big con, EA. Why have you done that? Maybe this is unpopular opinion, guys. I don't love it when EA makes stuff free that Simmers have had to pay for. That might be an unpopular opinion. Maybe. But anyway, the point is My First Pet stuff. Let's be honest, they gave it as a free pack, right? But half of the items that are within the pack only really work if you've got cats and dogs. So I do kind of think that was just a big ploy for people to go out and buy cats and dogs and then obviously get My First Pet stuff free. I mean, you didn't have to go out and buy it, but I kind of feel like that was their intention. Anyway, let's be honest, the big controversy with this pack is that it should have come with cats and dogs. That's its major criticism. Most people don't mind the pack and the content and the gameplay itself. And to be honest, it's one of those rare few packs, I genuinely think stuff packs and majority of game packs are more worth their money than expansion packs. That's just my maybe controversial opinion. And I don't think My First Pet stuff is an anomaly in that. Like, I think it comes with enough things, like enough features and enough stuff, especially if you compare it to something like Kids, to justify it being a stuff pack. And like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad pack. I just hate the fact that without cats and dogs, it's basically like half functional. Like, there's almost no point to it if you don't have cats and dogs, which I think is quite a major flaw, if I'm being honest with you. You shouldn't have to have a pack in order for another one to work. They should all be able to work separately. That's kind of the point of the Sims franchise. So yeah, it's a little disappointing. And yet again, I feel like all of these packs are just kind of emphasizing how cash grabby EA are. But this one in particular kind of really just shows that they were trying to split up so many different concepts into different packs just to get money. Because let's be honest, I know I always compare to The Sims 3 because that's the game that I grew up with more than The Sims 2, you see. I played The Sims 2 on PSP and like DS, and Wii, I think. Was it Wii? Don't remember. Either way, played it on consoles, but like never played on PC, whereas Sims 3 I did. So anyway, Sims 3 Pets, it had birds, it had, I think it did have hamsters or gerbils, and had loads of other animals within it because obviously it's called Pets. Whereas in The Sims 4, you got bloody, oh, it had horses as well. In The Sims 4, you got cats and dogs, horse ranch, My First Pet stuff. Is that it? And we still don't have a bloody bird. Okay, I don't really care about birds that much. I don't know why I'm passionate about this, but like, I think it's more the principle at this point. Next thing you know, we're going to have a bloody stuff pack that's going to be like bird paradise or something. I don't know. Don't steal that idea, EA. Thank you. We don't need a bird pack. But yeah, I don't like the fact that it basically requires cats and dogs. I feel like if they were meant to have done that, they should have just made it into one pack, if I'm being honest. I just feel like My First Pet stuff is kind of not needed. One user, when I was doing my research, said, unless you've got a absolute craving to own a hamster, then I wouldn't go for it. And I just think that is a good summary. Like, unless you're a major rodent, hamster, guinea pig lover, I wouldn't say there's any point in it, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously the gameplay within this pack is relatively small. The content within it is relatively small. It is a stuff pack, so it's never going to be as big as a game pack or as big as an expansion pack. So I feel like I don't really want to critique it in that way. I actually think for its price point, it has enough features in to kind of make it feel worthwhile. I would never recommend buying a pack full price, in my opinion, but only because EA are doing a lot more sales nowadays that I just don't think it's worth it. Now let's talk a little bit about my own experiences, because I actually, like I said, I own this pack, so I can talk about it, not like the other two. So I can say that I do enjoy the concept of this pack, but should it have been part of cats and dogs? Yes. Undeniable. If you were literally going to have cat and dog beds as part of the pack, it should have been in with the other pack, shouldn't it? It just should have been. I almost feel like my First Pet stuff is a bit of a kick in the teeth a little bit. And like I said, I can't believe that out of all the packs, they made that one free. And like I said, I do wonder whether that was a bit of the ploy to get people to go out and buy cats and dogs as well. Because if you own My First Pet stuff for free, you have cats and dog beds in your game with no cats and dogs. It's like it's torturing you. Why have they done that? I don't know. Strange decision in my opinion. I think they would have been better off doing something like Moschino, or maybe not Moschino because it's a brand deal, but like something like that. So random, are they? Or what about the hot tub one? They should have done the hot tub one because they added hot tubs in. That would have made more sense. My First Pet stuff. Joke. Anyway, I did put, by the way, they keep looking over here. I always say this anyway, and I just should have said this near the start, not the end, but my laptop's there. It's got my notes. I do enjoy playing with this pack, but I do find looking after the hamsters a little bit tedious. I'm not gonna lie. And I often forget they're in my game, or I often choose to forget they're in my game, which means I don't often play with them, to be honest. In fact, I can't remember the last time I played with them, which is really bad. I would buy the pack if it was on sale. Stuff packs don't tend to go on sale that often, if I'm being honest, but when they do, I would recommend buying it, or if it becomes free again, then yes, maybe. But otherwise, I would say it's not worth it. Like I said, it really depends what your interests are, but I don't think it's that worth it. It doesn't add that much to your game. It's just like a little cage, basically. And I should play with it a lot more. I just always forget about it. And like, it's meant to be something fun that your kids can interact with, but kind of doesn't really do anything for them within the game. So it's kind of like this empty thing. But I kind of find cats and dogs a bit like that as well in the game. Whereas in The Sims 3, I didn't really feel like that. But I don't know why. Anyway, that is pretty much it, I think, which is crazy. This video has probably been absolutely boiling long. Boiling long? Just long. Even though I tried to keep it condensed. Like I said, I would buy it if it was on sale. Otherwise, no. Pretty much that's the consensus that all of these packs would buy that's on sale. Probably wouldn't bother otherwise. And to be honest, for Journey to Batuu, I think it's one pack that a lot of simmers choose to not get because it's just like so irrelevant. But if you're a Star Wars fan, then you'll like it. Do you see what I mean? I actually don't love ranking videos. I like to do these sorts of videos, but I also don't like to do these sorts of videos because they're so subjective, right? Because somebody could absolutely love Star Wars, then love Journey to Batuu, but then for me, like, I'm not bothered. Whereas I love Parenthood, but somebody that hates family gameplay would be like, no. So I always think whenever you're watching a ranking video or any sorts of videos like this, take it with a pinch of salt, because what I really like, you may hate, and vice versa. That's life. I also would like to point out for this video, I'm sat here in shorts. It is like back end of April when I'm filming this, 30th of April. So literally the last day of April. I'm in shorts and I live in the UK. My room is also the hottest in the house, so might be why. Anyway, if you have enjoyed today's video, then please be sure to go leave a like, go and subscribe if you haven't already. We are very close to 500 subscribers as of filming this, and I would like to hit it, please. So yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Do let me know what you think, by the way, in the comments, because I don't think I've said that in a hot second. Let me know what you think. Is there a pack that you hate more than these 3 packs? I'd be interested to know. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will catch you all for the next video. Bye, everyone.